What's up, everyone? You know what night it is. Wednesday night, off-centered with Dustin, the personal finance dad. We got some big news going on. We got Fanatics being talked about in the news and what they're planning to do. We got fake slabs with HGA and their response. We got what we're buying and selling, and I guarantee you what I'm selling is pretty much what everyone else is buying right now, but I have good reasons as to why I'm selling what it is. So we'll talk about that and more. We got a lot of football action. Basketball's heating up. Hockey's in preseason as well. And now we are in the playoffs for baseball as well. So we got a lot going on. So y'all know the drill. Welcome back. Now let's get to work. Let's bring on our guest. He is the king of mediocre content. It's almost
What's
butchered
up,
that.
man? How's it going?
How's it going? How's everything with you, man?
It's going. It's been a crazy time. Well, we were talking a little bit about just kind of life stuff leading up, and I feel like everything is kind of happening all at once with, kids in school and signing up for sports and, all sorts
of inflaming,
things.
right?
Yeah.
Hemorrhoids coming back. It's
God,
overwhelming.
all the usual health stuff, the hemorrhoids.
If you need to stand during the stream, it's okay, man. I understand.
Yeah. I'm just fighting through this pain. Those are tears. Those are tears of joy. I'm fine.
That's your cup to catch all of your tears. Yeah, there it is. Let's say hi to a couple of people in the chat already. Brian Sherlin, go Bucks. And I'm a fan of the Cardinals now because I still have a couple more Kyler Murray cards to get rid of. What's up, Troy? Good to see you as well. I hope not to disappoint. I really hope we'll live up to that standard. Brett S., what's going on? Happy for you to join us. Stephen Ryan, thanks so much for joining us as well. And we got Corey in the house and AP. Man, dude, so let's just start with what's up with you. You got a lot of things going on in life. Where do you want to start, first of all?
I'm going to start with the bad news, and then we'll go into like good news. But I'm kind of sad because over the last couple of weeks, I haven't really been able to buy much of anything card-wise, and it's because as like home ownership has struck. We have like an electrical issue that we have to get fixed. I've got like, so we had a toilet leak downstairs in our half bath, and for some reason they built our house with hardwoods in the half bath. So there's like it went onto the
hardwood in the bathroom.
Which, fine in the kitchen, everywhere else, whatever. But so there was a little leak, in that toilet in the back. We didn't notice it because we don't use that guest bathroom. It's just like it's just there for guests to use on the first floor. So we noticed it one day and we're like, oh, damn, and we noticed like there's a little bit of bubbling underneath it. So a couple $1,000s later, we're trying to figure that out. So yeah. Card budget has been going towards the house here recently, and we just got like life stuff going on. So I'm just looking. I'm enjoying the cards I've got, and watching other people's mail days and whatever. Watching what you're doing. Not a whole lot. You're not doing a whole lot, but
well, I mean, I've been doing a lot in the last couple days, selling wise, and it is a surprise. Yeah. I might touch on that later, but it will be a separate episode because. And we'll go through everything. I'll make it into another episode anyway, but it's very fascinating because it's something that everyone is crazy about buying right now, but I also have good reason as to why I'm selling. But that's also a reason why maybe you should sell some of your cards for a profit to pay for the bills.
Doesn't work like that. And shout out to my wife, Kim, for sticking through this card journey. She has not told me to sell a thing. So
not yet. She's writing the letter now. She's talking to the marriage counselor now on how to phrase it.
What's that, babe? Sell everything. Okay. Well, can we talk after the stream is over, though? Okay.
Every time she's like, "You really need to sell these cards," you just are like, "Oh, I love pancakes. Yeah, pancakes sound great. Extra syrup. Oh, of course, that'd be awesome."
What cards?
Completely block it out.
What cards? Like, they're all hidden. I've got them hidden all over the house.
I got to shout out AJ Rose, who is joining us from Japan. You're the first person who's actually mentioned they're from Japan watching or watching one of the videos. So shout out to you, man. That's so cool having someone from Japan in the chat right now. And yeah, Kim is super cool. I met her at the National. Very supportive wife you have. So you're very lucky there. And there's no sports card. There's not a single sports card in the world or an entire collection that is better than having a quality partner. So congrats there.
Fair enough.
Now, what she's doing with you is like, I don't know what she's thinking, but you lucked out there. You like That's the best hit ever. That's pulling a one of one.
A one of one, if you will.
LeBron James, RPA, whatever.
All right, don't go too. She's going to get a big head. She's probably watching. So let's move on. Let's move past that.
And Chrissy, I'll totally take my nickname over Dustin's. I'll take that right there. Greetings from Hawaii. Very cool. I keep hesitating on the name, on the pronunciation or enunciation. Talladega, right? Talladega.
Yeah, okay, I keep thinking of Talladega when
Talladega Nights. Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple things in the news. Let's touch on. We could talk about your Saints in a bit, but let's talk about Michael Rubin of Fanatics going on and sharing what he did about Fanatics and what they're going to be doing and what he thought going forward in the valuation. Anything that you're taking away from his 3-minute segment on what was it, CNBC?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I made 9 videos on this already, but
a reaction to your initial reaction.
It kind of confirmed the speculating on the speculation of the speculation. Everyone's kind of worried about the one-stop shop, because that's essentially what he wasn't even hinting at it. He was kind of just laying it out, so of course that just means more speculation of what does that mean for card shops? What does that mean for distributors? What does that mean for everybody? And, so I think I don't know. My big spec on it, which is not anything special at all, is I don't know where distributors fit in. Right now in today's world, like when they take over, I don't know what their role would be necessarily, because the one thing he said is look, you've got all these different levels in between. You've got the manufacturer, and then once it gets all the way to a secondary sale, you've got so many people in between it, and that's where they want to go straight to consumer. So that's going to be their goal. They're going to set up, or at least that's what he said. He wants a model that is direct to consumer.
I mean, when you think of it, if they're cutting out a lot of the middlemen, that could help the end consumer get the product for a bit less. I mean, obviously they'll make more of their margin, but if some of the savings is passed on to us, then I'm okay with that as well. At the end of it, then there's always a bidding war for the rare cards, and that kind of goes up from there. I mean, the one word that he said that really summed up what I believed the acquisition was with Fanatics getting the licenses and them taking over is vision. They have a bigger, grander vision than the other manufacturers that are all just competing against each other in the small world of cards. And they are like, hold on, we're thinking like Jeff Bezos of Amazon, where he's thinking outer space and buying land in other continents and whatever else. And I feel like Fanatics that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying we can afford the licenses because, man, our vision is massive and our expertise is in that direct-to-consumer model. So,
AJ brings up a good point here in the chat. He says, I see them using CSG for grading, because he tied in grading as part of their deal. He is so Michael Rubin is part of that Blackstone group, or he went in with Blackstone to buy CSG. So that's a really interesting thing. I mean, because right now CSG slabs, if you're looking at resale value for CSG, you're compared to PSA, BGS, CSG is way down the line for resale. What happens if CSG is the go-to grading company in 5 years? You look at it all those. What if PSA is all of a sudden 4th? It won't happen, but you know what I mean. That's kind of interesting. CSG could really get a boost. Yeah.
At the same time, that is so far away. I mean, I can't think of 1 year from today. I can't even go as far as the national next year based on how much has changed in the last 3 months, 6 months, a year. So to me, I'm like, what he says just confirms everything else. They see an opportunity, they have vision, they have the resources, whatever. But again, we could talk about this every week or two for the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, and the other thing is, for you and I, it's not really, and for a lot of people probably watching, it's not going to affect all the stuff that you're already doing. If you're buying vintage cards, if you're buying, certain sets from the past, the only way it's going to affect you, hopefully it's positive in the sense that if they want to go up against an eBay for secondary sales, then maybe they offer, a lower selling fee, or maybe they offer, that competition against an eBay. Because if they want, he made pretty clear that they want a piece of the secondary sales pie. So how are they going to do that without going up against eBay? You know,
I wonder who's a bigger company. Could they merge with eBay? Could they buy eBay, or do they not even need it? Could they have their own vault system?
Let me find out. Let's see what the valuation for eBay is.
Okay, check that out. Yeah, and select and collect. Those labels are hideous. They are like an eyesore. They are an eyesore. So let's see. AP. If Fanatics card division is really worth 10 billion, then cards in general are currently undervalued. Well, I mean, you know, we have AJ here from Japan. We have a lot of people from Germany, Australia, Korea, England, all these other countries that are highly underserved because the resources are just not there. So
eBay's sitting at about 40 to 45 billion.
Okay, so eBay's way bigger. Okay, well, the point is that what Fanatics can do in the next 3 or 4 years is set up all the resources to tie together the rest of the world that would love to participate, but with customs and logistics and scams and all this other stuff, it's just not worth it. It's more like window shopping or hearing about it or just dabbling on CompC or something else, but never being able to be as involved as you'd like to be. So again, you know, you piece this together over the next 3 or 4 years and Fanatics will be in a great spot. But I don't really know if there's anything. Yeah, look, Ray-Ban, I know you're in Australia. Look, got nothing. And there's a huge Australian community. There's like a big Australian community into cards, and yet you got very little. So what can they start doing now? Or what could even Panini or eBay or PSA or these other companies start doing now so that in a couple of years, it'll be a lot more seamless and a lot more people can be involved versus just wishing that it was bigger. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think you nailed it with Australia.
and Mike, see, we're inching there. We're inching our way to the Fanatic sponsorship. But good thing with that $10 billion valuation, you only got to throw us a couple 100,000 and we'll be good. Just 200K.
No. You only have to throw Brad a couple 100,000. We're
just
looking for millions.
Just a couple dollars would be great.
Yeah. Actually, just 10 G's. 10 G's.
10 G's, yeah. Lifetime buyout until I'm 90 years old. All good. Okay.
That's awesome.
Other piece of news is I saw that HGA had an issue with a counterfeit or fake slabs or fake cards that they went and got graded. I saw the post on Instagram. And what's your initial thought there?
I'm pissed. No, I'm kidding.
You're never pissed, Dustin. You're never pissed at anything.
I don't own any HGA slabs. I think honestly, there's just so much to buy. You know, from the four big ones that are already there between PSA, BGS, SGC, and CSG. That I feel like HGA is just another. It's just another company. Not that they're a bad company. Nothing against them whatsoever. I think that they have really cool slabs. You know, all the rest of it, I think they probably do a good job grading. But for me, just because they're not as proven, I would just rather go with, and I know CSG is a fairly new company, but it's tied to CGC, you know, that's larger, that's owned by Blackstone, that grades the comic books that I also have. So I just know that they've been around. You know, but I think this probably, well, we know what happens with every company. Every company slabs fake cards at some point or, you know, or counterfeits or replicas or whatever by accident. I think the one thing that people are watching, and I do believe that they did say they would do some sort of a buyback on those cards where they would pay the difference or compensate, you know, the person. I think that's the big thing because that's a big reason why people like PSA is because they have a history of paying out claims like that, where there's like, oh, okay, we made a mistake here, and they pay. Whereas with some of these other companies, you know, you don't necessarily have that always.
All right, I totally agree, and there are a couple things that came to mind. New companies, I always think of they're growing pains. You know, you learn lessons. It's like I'll have audio visual difficulties on the station. And then after a while you learn, okay, that's what it is. And you get better and better. And so every company is going to make mistakes, especially new companies. And I think the other aspect to consider is that with new platforms, new grading companies, anything new, I feel like you're a bit more of a target for the scam artist or for people that know that you don't necessarily have a protocol or the right procedures in place to stop someone that is wanting to take advantage of the system. So, you know, to me, it's always like you go to a restaurant and if the soup is cold, if they bring out the wrong entree, it happens from time to time. I'm more concerned with what are you going to do to make it right for the customer. And if it's, hey, I apologize, this meal's on me, come back, we'll get you dessert as well. All of a sudden, I'm totally I'm understanding of the situation because it happens to all of us. It's very difficult. One person in the whole company could make one little mistake that makes the whole company look bad, especially if it's out in the public. But if you're going to make it right, then that's a company I can do business with, because I don't know a single company that has not had some sort of mistake. And if that's happened, or if there's a company out there that's like that, it's only because it hasn't been in the news. So they've made mistakes and they've kind of got it swept under the rug without too many people realizing it. So they'll put procedures in place, and as long as they're going to reimburse people, then I feel like it's a company I could feel good going forward with.
Yeah. And actually right before I got on, I was watching a video, Ryan with Breakout Cards, I believe is the channel, but he does a lot of work identifying fake cards. And I think he's actually writing a book on it. He's got a bunch of videos, YouTube videos on it. But he was at a show and he had made a video about this particular card. I think it's a Kobe Bryant Ovation rookie. I might have that wrong, but it's basically an insert card, a Kobe Bryant insert card. It's a beautiful card, but it's fairly commonly faked. Like it's like it's a great looking card, but it even has, a hologram on the back that's faked. I mean, they actually fake it pretty well. And he saw one at a show that he was at recently, just over the weekend. But I think that's going to be something that just over time, is going to people are just going to have to educate themselves on a lot of this stuff, because unless you're really in the know on some of these niche cards, and that's not even counting like the new stuff that's happening. There's always going to be scammers out trying to trying to do new cards, fake new cards. But these are, ones and vintage too, with trimming and altering and different, there's things to look for on different sets. So yeah, I think that as the hobby kind of gets smarter, as it grows, as there's more kind of information education out there, we're all going to have to get smarter if we're buying cards, because the fakes, a lot of times it's very difficult to tell the difference. That's why they get by the grading companies. I mean, these are professional graders that accidentally grade them. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and whenever there's money, a lot of money, there's going to be someone that's looking to scam, to like, how can I swindle this a couple $1,000s or a couple tens of thousands of dollars or whatever it is. So that's not something that's going to be eliminated. I think it's always going to evolve, and there's just going to be ways of like, all right, this is how we detect this, and now they're trying something new, and now they're doing this, and now they're doing that. So I don't know. I think that's just the way life is. But I mean, look, as long as they're transparent, they're owning their mistakes, and they're trying to do what they can to make it right, I can respect a company that goes that way.
Agreed.
Okay. Are you buying anything? I mean, I know you have bills. You have like a warped bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Have you bought anything last week?
Yeah, I'm buying new flooring. I'm buying tile for the bathroom. I've got electrical work I'm buying.
You could use like some of those slab bowl rookie cards you have as flooring, right? Don't you have any like useless junk wax slabs or like ultra modern junk?
529 plans. Like I'm buying stuff like that. Actually, one of Kim's aunts brought me a truckload of junk wax era stuff to go through to see if it's worth anything.
So man. How many videos are you going to make out of that?
It's endless. Now I'm just looking at it over here. There's boxes everywhere. But yeah, I told her I would be going through it and I'd let her know. I tell you what I am looking at, and I know, people that have been watching my channel, I've been doing a lot of the patch auto stuff for Hall of Famers, or I've been looking at all sorts of. I'm always looking at that stuff. So I'm really I've moved over to memorabilia cards for the most part. I still buy rookie cards, certain rookie cards, but I mean, I've been going kind of vintage and memorabilia, type cards. And what's weird? So what's weird is we went to that Raleigh show, me and Flip and Steve, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I swear everybody was selling. And I've been to that show a few different times over the last 18 months. And there was some of that memorabilia stuff, but I swear like every table had it. I don't know if it's like the in thing now, but I mean, everybody was selling it. And then when he was up at the Philly show, he said the same thing. Like a lot of that, like numbered, autos for Hall of Fame players, a lot of that was out. And as opposed to like base prism, PSA 10, whatever, for whatever. Cause you remember like a year ago, it was Zion, Prism, PSA 10s. That's what everybody had or whatever. And now it's completely shifted.
Well, I also wonder if that is card show demand versus online demand, where if you're going to card shows and you're more into it and you're more into flipping and the day-to-day of it and really moving cards often, and you're that advanced, then maybe you are into those serial numbered cards, the parallels, that kind of stuff, knowing where it is shifted. And then the ones that are just Prism based PSA 10, you send those off to eBay or to Star Stock or something else where like, okay, this is more of a gambling card and the gamblers will be online or they could buy it online, but at the show, I know that this is the stuff that moves. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I would imagine that people at card shows are a bit more knowledgeable, a bit more nuanced with their collecting and investing than just the base Prism PSA 10, which is usually just like, what's the closest thing to a stock, buying a stock of a player,
I just think, I think there's just been a big shift over to, more of a focus on scarcity. Whereas, when a lot of people were getting back into the hobby, 2 years, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there wasn't as much of a focus, and now it's definitely more focused. It feels like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I go back to this every week. Kyler Murray is in the running of MVP this early in the season, and yet I can't sell his cards, his Prism-based PSA 10 for more than like $30 over what I paid for it. And that's, I mean, I paid $360 to $400, and that card was well over $1,000 last year. That's when the pop was way lower and the market was a lot crazier. But the fact that, a player can be doing so well in terms of being talked about as MVP, and yet that card, which was the card to go to, a Prism was the set, PSA was the grading company, a 10 was the grade, and the fact that it's literally $20 more than what I paid is kind of absurd. So that's where I'm like, all right.
I'm starting to feel like performance matters way less than expectations and potential. I'm starting to feel like that. Whereas a year ago, I don't know if that was as much of a thing. Yes, you do see, a lot of people are thinking like with the NBA, that with the NBA coming, guys gonna have a big game and cards are going to move. And that could be the case. And maybe this is different sport by sport. Maybe football will be different than basketball. But I'm really starting to I'm very curious to see that, because I think that nowadays, as maybe like we get to more of a normal sports card market, as opposed to what we had, a couple years ago, I'm just wondering how much performance is already baked in, to a lot of these guys, when with pricing, with pricing, like, has it already gone way up in the off season?
I mean, I was buying some cards, football cards, at a great price in the off season. And I think the big thing was just those were the cards that I didn't have to worry about the pop going up from there. And then the ones that did go up in pop, that's when it got diluted. I feel like it's way more performance based now. But then you have guys like Justin Herbert, who, even though he's playing really well, his prices were really high coming into the season when you only had a very small sample size, very, like a last year. And you're like, is that really enough to justify these prices? But I definitely feel like it's way more performance based. But then the flooding of cards from PSA, especially of the active players, is just kind of diluting those values. And it's kind of like wiping out what would be a solid spike in prices, like that would go hand in hand with performance. It's just kind of neutralizing it.
Yeah, I think, and actually I think it might work the other way, where performance, you're not necessarily rewarded when they're playing well, but you are punished when they are not playing well, or if they get injured. Cool. So it's really, really, I think it's risky. It's risky. I think it's riskier on the prospects now than it was maybe a year ago, when it was a lot more bullish, I guess, or, people getting back in.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, this was a good point right here. Mahomes prices. There were some cards I was looking at earlier. I think it was his rookies and stars or something like that. It was like a lesser brand, and the card had just plummeted in price, even though it is Patrick Mahomes. Even though the Chiefs are 2-2 now, which, I mean, again, very early in the year, he played well, and it's the Chiefs. Like, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to at least make the playoffs and go 1 or 2 rounds deep. So, going back to it, I think it's just a matter of, I'm going to defer to the GOATs, to the Hall of Famers. I'm going to always look there first, not only because of the legacy, but also because I want the cards that were worth something a while ago. So I don't have to worry about, is it only worth something now with the hobby being where it's at? And then also, if they are a current player, Tom Brady, LeBron James, guys that could retire today or tomorrow, and I'm okay. I don't have to worry about anything. Everything's just like bonus. I like the idea of everything is bonus from here. That'll be more my thing going forward. And that's even with the one pick I had last week in my newsletter was Conor McGregor, where I'm like, he doesn't need to win another fight because he's just too big of a brand. He just needs to never shut his mouth. Like, if he just keeps his mouth open, he'll bring so much attention and hype that he'll make people believe that he's still a top-notch fighter, even if this is 5 years from now. So, but at the same time, if he retires, he's still one of the greatest fighters, or at least personalities of the UFC, and a top fighter and an entertainer. And I'm like, his cards are still pretty cheap overall. So, I think I'm looking at stuff like that a bit more now, is like, retire today, and what would be the bottom, right? What would be the baseline if you retire today versus couple $100 into Kyler Murray, and he's on a great streak now. But Dak Prescott is looking good now. He also broke his leg out of nowhere last year, so we never know.
Yeah, I think that, and we've talked about this, it's like, and I know you're kind of the king of buying on the bad news side. It's like, if there's like, really the time to buy Dak was when he got hurt last year.
That's when I bought.
That was a time to really kind of get in. And then if you were patient enough just to kind of wait through that off season, and then sell, I guess, leading up, then that's really, I wonder with a lot of these QBs, because to me, and we talk about this a lot, like they all kind of meld together for me. Like you have a few that are excelling, but like there's a lot of horses in the race, and I feel like they're all kind of in the middle of the pack outside of a few players. Maybe like Tom Brady's the obvious GOAT, but his stuff is very expensive. So, but whether it's Dak or Kyler or any of these guys, Baker Mayfield or whoever it is, it's like they're all kind of in the same, like they're close. Like there's not
it's a second tier, like they're in tier 2, right? Like Tom Brady, I'd say Aaron Rodgers is tier 1. And Aaron Rodgers is like, kind of shaky start, but obviously tier 1 overall in talent. And then you have tier 2 guys that Dak, I like what Dak's showing. I like the Cowboys so far this year, but nothing to rely on. I mean, he goes down with another injury. If something happens, there's no backup. But anyway, so you're not really buying anything. Do you ever sell anything?
Occasionally little stuff. Like I'll try to sell, $5-10 cards that I have that are just doing nothing for me. And I can get rid of those and get into, more of the stuff that I like, but I'm not actively selling much. It's a lot of little stuff that I'll just kind of throw up there. And a lot of times I just don't sell, but that's really it.
I mean, like what, like a base rookie card of some football player, basketball player?
No, I mean, I've got like some soccer cards, that I've had for a while that I like them, but it's like, do I like them better than the mem cards that I have? No, I mean, and it's like, if they don't sell, it's okay, but I mean, like, I like the players, I like them, but it's like, my issue is I like a lot of different things. So like, I'm collecting a lot of different things. So, I'll be into something and then it's like, well, I kind of want this more though now. So let's see what we've got, and that's where I'll try to get rid of some of my smaller stuff. But there's a lot of stuff I just don't want to get rid of, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to sit on it.
So video games, you like video games, you like comics, you like sports cards, and what, non-sports cards as well?
Not really non-sports cards. No, I usually go kind of the comic book route instead of like the Marvel cards or whatever. I'll buy graded comic books. I've got a few graded starting lineups because I think that's fun. But I haven't bought, like, I don't have a bunch of those. Like I bought a few of them, the ones I like, and that's about it. What else do I have? I think those are the main things.
So what do you see? Like, all right, because I don't touch comics, I don't touch the starting lineups or anything. Do you see one of those markets or hobbies, like specific hobbies, going off, like going up like crazy, or really cooling down versus sports cards?
Yeah, I mean, so for a lot of the stuff that I've got, it's more of like, do I think this is going to be relevant, or do I think that this can gain ground over time? So I like, I've got the graded video games I've got are like the original Super Mario Brothers. I'm collecting all of like the NES black box games. So it's the original launch games for the original. There's 30 games that they launched for the original NES. Graded. So I'm trying to kind of collect those piece by piece, but because I think that, eventually they're going to be like antiques, eventually, and maybe they won't be, but at the price points where I'm buying in, I'm fine. It's like, yeah,
We have a pump and dump going on right now live.
yeah. I haven't made any soccer videos in a long time, so I haven't been pumping soccer. That's for sure.
Well, I definitely got to hear Top Shot. What's going on there? Because I know that's something you were holding, you were interested in.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up.
I still have over 300 Top Shot moments. I don't know if you heard, but there's NFL Top Shots coming.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Dapper Labs is going to do it, and that's another thing where I think that they're going to be relevant down the road. Now, there's certain Top Shot moments that I would sell of like players, that maybe like I'll hold on to like the Steph Curry, LeBron, the Luka stuff, but I've got some other players where maybe I sell those moments. But that's stuff where I do want to kind of sit on that. I'm curious to see what happens with it, to where it spiked, it came down, it's come back up a little bit, and I'll sit on it and just kind of see what happens.
Okay, because I mean, look, when you have basketball season starting, I would imagine it'd get like a boost naturally. But at the same time, basketball season starts. We have hockey starting. We have baseball. When does baseball end? November?
Around that time, I'm not sure. I don't watch. I mean, I know we're coming up. We're in the playoffs, so I know it's going to be ending. I think
probably,
it is November, right?
November. Okay, hockey, football is going to be in the middle of it. So. I mean, I also look at it like, man, you have everything going on at the same time. What is going to get left out? What is going to really take off? What's going to get left out? Then we also have November, which is typically save up for the holidays. And then we have Black Friday onwards to Christmas, which is just buy everything in sight for yourself and for others. So that's where I see it being mayhem, which hopefully is good because that means that could be a great time to sell.
Well, the kids already know here that we don't believe in Christmas and Christmas presents because Dad's got to buy cards. So
Santa's got to take care of himself.
Yeah. It's a tough life for these kids. Yeah,
I got you. Okay, so I'm still looking at cards, but I'm like right now I love selling. I love like liquidating because I found that I don't want to hold stuff because to me it's more fun when I get to go out and buy something. So if I buy a card, I don't want to have it for very long unless it's very special to me. But there's not very many cards that are very special to me because it would have to be like hand signed by the player to me, or it'd have to be something where, like I don't know, it'd have to be, or I just can't afford cards that are that special right now. So that's where I'm like, I can't wait to sell more just so I can get back in the buying mode. But I have been selling something, and you already know the answer. But if I ask you in the chat, what has been the most popular, what's the word? Popular investment or thing to buy in sports cards over the last couple of weeks? What have you heard about the most as a great thing to buy? Please let me know in the comment section. I'll give it a second.
From a very large sports card channel in particular.
Yeah. Bam. So here's the thing. So TW, it is wax. And I've not bought much wax since getting back into sports cards. But back in summer of last year, I bought 10 boxes of 2013 Select NFL. And the reason I bought it is because it was the first year of Select. And back then, first year of Prism was very popular. Like that, everyone was like, first year Prism. And I was like, well, Select looks better to me. There's less of it. Well, why don't I just buy first year Select football? And if you remember 2013, or if you look up that draft class, there's like no one, right? There's DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce are the only offensive rookies that year. There's no quarterbacks. There's no one that you would say, this is the card to chase. So the only reason I bought these boxes were because they were $120 each. So I literally got 10 boxes for $1,200. I don't think I paid tax because it was like from Pennsylvania at Steel City Collectibles, and I didn't pay shipping. So literally $120 per box. And then I said, well, if first year select goes off, then I have these boxes. But then with all I'm hearing about wax is a great investment and all this, I was starting to think, well, how much could I get for these boxes? So I put the first one up on My Slabs, and my mistake was I just threw up a price just out of curiosity. I put $270 up there, and it sold within minutes. And then I put up another one for $370 or $380, and it sold within hours. And then I'm like, oh man, like I doubled my money, and now it looks like I'm tripling my money. What else? Like, what's the ceiling of this? So then I went on eBay and put up, I think, 3 more of these boxes at $500 each. And remember, I paid $120. So for me to make money is like, I don't need much. You know, if I made $50 per box, that's really not bad. But to go from $120 to $500 minus fees is pretty sweet. So I looked up there, and what was interesting is that they sold very quickly. I sold 3 boxes at $500, and then I 2 more at $550, and then I just sold 2 more at $600. So I'm down to maybe, I think, 2 boxes left, maybe 3 max. And the reason I'm selling them is because there's not really a card or a player to chase. So I don't know why that would be very desirable, for one. But also, I told you, Dustin, I bought 46 of those complete sets, 1 through 100 of 2013 select football.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I have 46 Tom Brady's, first year select Tom Brady's, first year select Drew Brees, first year select Peyton Manning, first year select Aaron Rodgers, in case that does become a thing. But if you're really spending all that money just to chase perhaps a first year silver select Tom Brady, like, good luck. Like, that sounds like you're going to pay a lot of money for a card that still might not be worth that much. It's still a 13-year card of Tom Brady. So I don't know why someone's going to pay that much for that box specifically, but I decided, well, here's the other thing too. I sold those boxes at $500, and I was looking on Market Movers under their sealed wax thing, and that box was going up like crazy. But when I looked at basketball, NBA Prism and Select, it was down. It was like way down. And all of the other football boxes were up. So my idea, what I actually think is happening, is that football sealed wax is going up because breakers are buying it now to actually break as product, and basketball product is going down in value. But once basketball season starts, and especially as football season winds down, basketball wax will probably go up, at least based on that thought process. So if you have Market Movers or some data tool where you could chart the sealed wax, look up, and I'd pull it up here. I just don't know. The only thing is that, let me see if I can do it. It might just take a second. So maybe if you talk, because I have to use Google Chrome on this Mac to use StreamYard. So I don't have my thing signed in. And so I have to go over to Chrome.
Sealed wax is really interesting because if you think about like junk wax era when I was a kid, like you can still get that wax. And so it's like, why would I buy sealed wax? Because, you know, like it's out there. But even if we go back to like 2000, like what you have, 2013 select football, 2015, 2017, the amount of stuff that they printed for those years, even if there's not amazing rookies in those years that we know of yet, it's still a lot less than what they printed up, you know, way back when. So I think that that's really interesting. Yeah, that is something I wanted to dig into a little bit more. I haven't done a bunch on the sealed wax side, but I am going to put some resources into it because I think it's smart.
So okay. So let me show this, because this is interesting right here, and this is what got me to sell and feel good about it. But also the other thing to consider, and this isn't really talked about much, is there's supply and demand on sealed wax as a whole, like a sports card as a whole, but there's also supply and demand on a certain platform and how many are for sale. Because remember, back in February, I think we had that one Michael Jordan PSA 10 that sold for a ridiculous amount. And then other people saw how much it sold for, other collectors and investors that had that card. They're like, holy crap, that person sold it for $500K. Well, let me list mine. And then all of a sudden, if you have 5 Michael Jordan Fleer 1986 PSA 10s, on eBay at the same time, now you're not going to get 500K because you might only have a few buyers out there, and now they have 5 listings to bid between. So there's a supply and demand of how much that actual product is being sold at that given time, right? There could be 5,000 boxes of 2013 Select, but I'm the only seller on eBay right now for it, or like at least for a reasonable price. So
Yeah.
I might get more than I should just because other people that have that box aren't listing it, So,
Yeah.
and then if they find out, holy crap, this has gone up to $600 a box, and then 10 of them list it, now they might only get 350 or 400.
Yeah, and if you're a breaker,
economics.
Well, and it's like, how much is it to a breaker? If a breaker can sell all those spots for $30 each or $50 each or whatever, then that $500 box is pretty cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that, Chris. I don't know if you're talking to me or if there's a Brett. Oh, there is a Brett in here.
No,
I like when people call me Brett instead of Brad. There we go. And I'm like, Chris C, you should know better. But okay, it actually was Brett. But some people do call me Brett.
Brad's like, hey, you spelled Brad wrong. It's not B-R-E-T-T.
So all right, let me show you this. This is going to be highly educational, hopefully. Would like to record this. Oh man, there's like all these settings going on here. It's so difficult trying to do this with Google Chrome on Mac. So let me see here. Share screen.
Troubleshooting the computer on the live stream.
Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Follow these steps. I wonder if this is happening to yours as well.
Oh, maybe that's why I can't do it on my Mac. I have a Mac too.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, so I'm trying to share the screen here, and I can't even do it because my Mac and Google Chrome don't really get along. So there's this huge process. But okay, I'm going to have to describe it because I can't really do much. If you look over the last 6 months, all the Prism basketball and Select basketball from 2013 to 2019, from 180 days ago, every single one of them is down percentage-wise from April back then. But if I go to football, so like everything's down 20%, 30%. And if you have the tool, then you could look it up yourself. Let me see here. So if I look up football, yeah, it sucks I can't share this. I'm gonna have to like figure this out for next time. It's so annoying trying to get Apple to work with Chrome and with these other things. Okay, so if I look up 2013,
just take out the floppy disk, blow in it, and then put it back into the drive.
There we go. Okay, well, I can't really explain this, but I can't really show this, but if I'm looking up, this is actually kind of crazy. If I'm looking up 2013 Select all the way and Prism all the way up to 2019 on football, everything is in the positive from the last 180 days except for, let's see, 2016 Select football, and then there was a sale 2014 Select football. But if you look at 2013, it's actually through the roof. It is like up 100. Let me see this. So the percentage, it says from 6 months ago, 180% increase, and it's like the only one that's going through the roof. And I don't know why first year Select would be desirable unless you really believe in that being a desirable product because it's the first year of that. I don't know.
Can we come back on when those boxes are 10,000 each and you're crying about how you sold it for $200?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's a good point because we always have that FOMO. Like, well, I could sell it now and 4x my money, or I can wait and see if that goes up to 1,000 or 1,200. I feel like we've gone through this so many times though, where it's like if there's a good profit, if you're happy with it, move on, take the profit, and find something else that makes more sense for you.
Because you can always hold on to one or two for that reason.
And I was thinking of doing that as well. Like maybe hold on to two, put a ridiculous amount up there. And I'm so far in the green, or what's it, in the black? Is it in business? It's in the black that I could have 2 boxes and just hold on for 5 years if I want. The other thing is that I'm looking to move soon. So I'm looking at everything like I want as little as possible so that I don't have to move as much. So part of me likes having the cash and being able to not move as much. But that's my thought process on the wax, is that if football is through the roof right now on wax and basketball wax is actually declining, and you could actually think it's tied into the seasons and what breakers are doing now and what's popular with breaking, then maybe it's a good time to sell football wax and buy basketball wax.
Yeah, football, and I know I'm a homer with football. I'm biased because I love football cards, but man, like pops are low, pricing is low comparatively to a lot of the baseball, basketball stuff, and it makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Shaves bears or his beard?
I have bears as well.
His pet bears.
Well, yeah, and seriously, like Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins, like who are these? Yeah, okay, they might be Hall of Famers, especially Kelce, but we're talking about a tight end. You're not chasing a tight end's rookie card, especially when he has a Prism card. I bought a raw Travis Kelce Prism rookie card off season for $34. You're not chasing his select card, and what you're going to chase his select silver. You're going to pay what, like $100 a pack or like $80 a pack to maybe get a Travis Kelce silver. I don't think so. So hey, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I will gladly sell because that makes sense to me at this point.
Yeah, I feel like with the tight ends, the current tight ends, I know that Gronk is beat up, but I saw some stat that like Gronk is like 1 year older than Kelce and has like 30 more touchdown catches than he does. And he's got more Super Bowls and all the rest of it. So it's like if I was going to buy between the two, I'd probably buy Gronk.
And he's tied to the greatest quarterback ever who will be throwing him the ball. I mean, obviously Travis Kelce is tied to Mahomes, which is great, but the Super Bowl rings are already on Gronk's fingers, and his personality is hard to beat. He's just going to be on TV for as long as he wants.
Yeah,
I want to buy more.
Like, he could be like The Rock or something, or like, like a wrestler that goes into movies. Like,
for sure,
could be Gronk.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, he's like designed to just be on. Like in comedy movies, just comedy roles. Like that's his thing. And maybe, who knows, maybe he starts there and one day he can actually be serious and like be good. Maybe he'd be a good serious actor 5 years down the road after he's tired of just doing comedic roles. But yeah, to me,
I don't think he's doing like Shakespeare or anything, or like, I don't think he's doing like.
He's like doing the next Joker. Like, how crazy would that be? Like Gronk turns from like football player to comedic actor to like serious drama role. Like
that would be something.
I would be so impressed. So impressed.
Like Gotham has a new face in town, and it's just like and then it's him turning, and you're like, no, it can't be him.
You see like this Jack Joker. All right. So I guess we could talk a bit about sports. We got your Saints. What happened to your Saints Sunday?
Hard to talk about it. Very hard to talk about it.
I forgot what happened though. I guess y'all lost, but I forgot. Who'd you lose to?
We were up by 11 to the winless Giants in the fourth quarter. Our defense is top notch. And then all of a sudden we just started giving up chunk plays out of nowhere. They came back. They beat us. They beat us at the end. We just didn't close out the game.
How did Winston look in this game?
He was fine. It wasn't on him. It wasn't. You would think that like maybe he fell apart at the end or something. No, the weird part was it was Marshawn Lattimore, our number one corner, that's typically shut down material. The Giants don't even have receivers. Like there's no, and maybe that's what threw him off is there wasn't like a Mike Evans on the other side to stop. I don't know what happened.
You didn't know who to cover, who to really pay attention to, because everyone's like average.
Yeah, he just didn't. You know what though? That's the one knock on Lattimore is sometimes he doesn't rise to the occasion. With like they say, like he'll take games off, which he doesn't totally take games off, but he does need like a Julio Jones or an Evans or someone on the other side of him to compete with. Yeah. But yeah, they just fell apart. So 2-2 Saints better get it together
early in the season. And again with the Bucks, grateful for the win. I will say, man, those injuries are a big deal. Like we see it in sports all the time. Injuries are a big deal. And in football, you are tied to your complementary players so much. And I mean, like the secondary of the Bucks were gone. Brady missed Gronk so much. It was so obvious how much he missed Rob Gronkowski because he could not hit Cameron Brate. There was all these inconsistencies. It was kind of like he was on a new team because it's like if you're on the road you have horrible weather, and then you're missing the number one target you've had your entire career, who still seems to be in his prime or near it. Yeah, that's a big deal. So excited for the win. Bucks need to heal up, but if the Bucks can still squeak out wins with all three cornerbacks injured, defensive lineman Jason Pierre-Paul, who still has something left in the tank, Gronk, one of the best tight ends ever and the number one target of your quarterback, and I think one of the safeties was out. Antoine Winfield had a concussion late. It's like, if you can still squeak out wins that way, I feel good going forward.
Yeah, I was surprised to see, Mac Jones actually played better than Tom Brady. If you break down the stats, Mac Jones had a very good game.
Here's the thing. You could say that. I would also argue that the Bucks Mac Jones with great coaching was going against a second string secondary. He handled pressure well, though the Bucks sacked him a couple times. But the three cornerbacks, like the secondary of Tampa, was the weakness. Like, the defensive line is solid. The linebackers are great. It's that secondary that was really young, gives up a lot of penalties, and even those guys were injured. So it's like, if those were the top guys.
But the weather, it wasn't a good night for offense in general. So, like, you could say, but I felt like Mac Jones did pretty good, especially considering that the whole week, Tom Brady was the topic of discussion. Even Bill Belichick was talking about how great his old quarterback was. And Mac Jones just sitting there like, oh, well, I mean, like.
Well, I think there's no pressure on Mac Jones in it, because it's kind of like, no one expects you to win. Everyone expects Tom Brady and the Bucks to blow you out. You're the greatest quarterback ever, and versus this rookie that's coming in, I think you can kind of like rest knowing that no one's eyes are really on you. They don't even care what you do. Everyone's caring about how Tom is going to play and how it's going to be, what that handshake or hug is going to be like at the end of the game, and who's going to come out victorious. So I thought Mac Jones actually didn't have too much pressure, because no one expected him to outplay Tom Brady. But I will say that, the coaching, everything was great from the Patriots side. And then the injuries were incredibly obvious. Without Gronk and a secondary, you saw exactly how bad the Bucks can be. But I will say the running game, there was a decent running game of the Bucks, and there was some pressure from the defensive line. But, dude, it's a team game.
We'll have to see. I mean, the Patriots have no offensive weapons, really. I mean, Mac Jones is throwing to nobody, So, I mean, let's also keep that in perspective. What's going to happen when that depleted secondary, goes up against a good offense? That was kind of like, they're back in Foxborough and they're doing their deal. It's Tom Brady's night. And, they almost lost to the Pats, which, I mean, like, they are way more, they have way more weapons than the Pats. Even, and I know that Belichick's throwing together a defense, and they paid, they bought some players in the free agency, but that game should not have been close at all. And, so it'll be interesting, but Tom Brady always finds a way. So it's like, I'm sure they'll have like 8 guys on the field and they'll still go to the Super Bowl,
Yeah, we'll see. It's funny because we can talk about NFL as long as it's only our teams. I mean, are you watching any other teams? Any other big surprises from the weekend?
I paid attention. So Carolina, I saw it in the chat here. Carolina picked up Gilmore from the Patriots, that was a surprise. I'm kind of wondering why that happened. I know they were trying to renegotiate his contract. He gets paid a lot of money. And so I'm wondering, like, though, but is he not playing well? And I don't like it because that's in our division. That's in the NFC South.
And that's a solid division right now.
And their defense is actually playing pretty good, considering that they don't have a lot of big name players on defense. But so I'm not happy to see Gilmore come to the NFC South. The Bills have been dominant. The Bills have been really dominant. They're going to be tough. They're going to be really tough.
What do you think of the Cardinals and Kyler Murray? Do you think they are legit and they have, Kyler should be in MVP talks by the end of the year? Or are you thinking like that's a bit too, something's going to happen. He won't be in the running. There'll be someone else that leads the pack, and he'll be maybe like 4 or 5, but he's definitely not going to be top 3.
I just think that division is really tough. So I'd like to see kind of how that looks over a season. Like we're a few games in. And so I think that like MVP talk in week 4, I think is crazy. It's like,
it's crazy in a 16-week season. Right. Now we're in a 17-week season. I think we talk about it
like in 2 months, we could have a totally different landscape, in the NFL. Like we just don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it, because I'm thinking, well, Russell Wilson, he started off pretty slow with the Seahawks, and then they won last game, and so the Chiefs, Mahomes and the Chiefs were 1-2, and now they're 2-2, and at the end of it, we could be talking about them being 10-3, right? It's like
Yeah.
2 months down the road with a couple of games left. So yeah, that's why. Here's the thing: I love having the cards that I have, and when they sell for a profit, not even looking back, like just. If I could sell and make a profit,
yeah,
it's okay, because I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that if I buy early enough and at a price I feel is low enough, then I don't have to have anyone go beyond week 3 or 4. If they just have a couple good weeks and it hits a price, then I'm cool selling it, and that's it.
I do want to point out, if Andy is watching, I don't know if he's watching or if he'll watch it later, but remember when we had Andy on, we were doing kind of like preseason NFL picks or whatever. And I talked about Joe Burrow, and I was like, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, like Joe Burrow, like he's the number 1 overall pick from like he's good. I feel like he's a good player. And look, I know he doesn't have the best offensive line, but the Bengals are 3-1. The Bengals are out there making moves, so that was kind of I like to see underdog teams do well. I've got a couple of buddies that are Bengals fans. So, and that, who's their pick? Chase, the wide receiver from LSU. He's been an absolute beast for the Bengals.
Yeah. I don't know the rookies too well either. And I mean, I saw a comment on here about, are we investing in Justin Herbert? This was a while ago. And I mean, as much as I would want to invest in a younger player because I could see upside, the problem is that the prices don't really reflect, like they're not really in balance of the fact that they've only played 8 games or 10 games or 12 games or whatever. Usually it's like, okay, you're a third of the price of the best ever. Well, but your legacy is 1/50th of the best ever. So that's the price I would pay. I just can't get too excited about the young players when we don't even know what card and variation people would value the most when it's all said and done, let alone if the player will pan out.
Yeah, I don't own any Justin Herbert cards, and I like the kid. I think that, I like watching him play. Like, he's fun to watch. I watched that Chiefs game where they beat the Chiefs, and it was exciting. Like, he is a really good talent. The thing that concerns me about Herbert stuff is, like you said, the prices where they are now, they're already kind of built in a little bit, but then also it's the amount of parallels, so exactly what you're just saying. So, I mean, like, this kind of reminds me of, like, are we going to look back and it be like, Shaq rookies in 92, where there's like a million of them, and they printed a zillion of them. Now, it's not the same to where, like, you have like the same number of like 92 Fleer Ultra Shaq rookies that were printed like to the moon, but you have way more Herbert parallels than you do Shaq parallels from 92. Like, and I know that's not an apples to apples comparison, but I wonder if some of these guys are going to be victims of this like 2020 print run, mega parallel, 100 plus parallel, and like even Select. Like, I know that we had talked about Select having like 130 different parallels.
Yeah.
That's just Select. That's not Prism. That's not Optic. That's not all the other stuff. So yeah, which Justin Herbert, rookies are you going to buy? Which ones?
And also, all right, so let's add to the equation. So we have a player that is promising, but we have no idea what's going to happen long term. There's nothing to rely on. I mean, like, Dante Culpepper was hot when he first started, right? Dante Culpepper and Donovan McNabb, and there are a lot of players that looked good early on, and they were solid quarterbacks, but they were never Hall of Famers. They were never all-time greats or anything like that. So we don't know the future of Justin Herbert. We don't know if anything horrific is going to happen injury-wise. We don't know what card or variation. And then if you're going to buy something graded, remember, there might only be a handful of cards that are worth getting graded now. And then other people are just stockpiling Prism Silvers and Select Silvers and other variations for when there's a price, a tier that's worth grading. So if you say, all right, it's off season, I want to buy a Justin Herbert Prism Silver rookie card, understand that the pop might be really low, and then PSA opens a tier for $70 a card, and all of a sudden you get 500 or 1,000 of those sent in there, and then you have 810s that just pop up in the system, and all of a sudden the prices plummet. So now there's like that whole delay as well, because not every card that's being ripped is actually being graded. So maybe you buy raw, if anything, but you don't buy anything graded until that whole process is figured out and in the clear.
Yeah, I think with a lot of those guys, if you're doing kind of the short-term flip game and you kind of get in at the right time and get out at the right time, then great. But if it's like, I'm buying X player, second year quarterback, and I'm going to hold it for 20 years, that's where you can get burned but that's like with anything. It's like with anything. It's like with unproven players. But but you could also be the one that gets the LeBron early, and then over 20 years it works out great or whatever. It's like, but that's the risk. That's all that's the spec.
Yeah, and that's how what your risk tolerance is. And then maybe it is, I'll do a lot of Brady's and then 10% Herberts and Kyler Murray's and the other guys, and that'll be my gamble. That'll be my more higher risk investing, where it's definitely a gamble. But any other players you've noticed? And also, are you excited about NBA? Let's just shift there, because we could always talk about football. We got NBA preseason starting. Anything you're seeing there or you're excited about?
I'm excited about watching NBA. I'm not, I've got rookie
not playing this year.
What's that?
Not playing in the NBA this year, just watching.
Yeah, unfortunately,
like Drew Brees.
This is going to shock everybody, but I didn't make any of the NBA teams this year. I did go to every single tryout, every 32 teams. I went for the public tryouts, and I didn't make it. Unfortunately, I know everybody's shocked.
You didn't nail Waterboy. They didn't hire you as Waterboy.
They're like, you're not even good enough to do that, buddy. No, but yeah, I'm excited to watch basketball, and it's weird though, because I feel like we had so much basketball. I was ready for the off season. But now I'm ready to watch basketball again. I think it's going to be really fun. I do have rookie cards of Luka. I've got Tatum. I've got a couple of Trey cards. I don't have a boatload of modern NBA stuff, but I've got enough to where it's fun, and I think there'll be certain guys, kind of like what we've talked about with like midseason NFL, midseason NBA. I'll be looking to kind of get into probably some more of those, modern guys, as kind of the excitement of the NBA starting back shifts, and then, try to get into some of that stuff.
I wonder when basketball starts, I think it's November 18th or something like that, where we are in the NFL season, if there's a good opportunity to get in on NFL, just with the lull in NFL, like mid-season, but also with basketball starting and hockey, where, hockey's going to bring some eyeballs, going to bring some money over there as well. So I'm definitely curious. I'm honestly like, I don't mind buying far in advance. I really don't. So I'm honestly leaning towards looking at baseball for next year and just waiting it out. As long as I feel like I'm buying at the floor based on the knowledge I have, I don't mind waiting. I just hate losing money. So even that's why selling at break even is not that bad if I'm learning a lesson. But if there are players, if there are cards I really believe in, the only thing with baseball is that it is not really that volatile of a market compared to basketball and football. But basketball is really the volatile one, and maybe it's just a different demographic, or just maybe it's younger or hipper or whatever. But I don't mind buying early. I just wish I would have sold off earlier on my football so I could have bought earlier on basketball.
Talatiga brings up a good point. There's only 30 teams, not 32. I went to 2 extra stadiums that weren't even NBA teams.
You went to the high schools that played play there on the other Friday nights, and even they wouldn't want you as the.
I didn't even make the high school teams, let alone the NBA teams. But I've got that.
You can always try out as cheerleader.
That 15-foot jumper is money every time. Lights out.
I mean, do you make it in the hoop though?
Yeah. I'm actually not bad I'm not bad at basketball. I could hang.
So that should be a video right there. We play one-on-one. See, that would be a video. We play one-on-one, and there's like a card on the line. There's like some sort of wager. Maybe we do that at the next national or at another Dallas show. Okay, so we got basketball. Anyone that you're picking up or you really are curious about right now before the NBA season starts?
Well, definitely not buying any NBA right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering. I saw a comment. I want to buy Dustin's Jamal Murray cards. Jamal Murray is a guy that I mentioned. I do have Jamal Murray rookie cards. I just held on to all that stuff. But I'm curious to see what happens with him. Like there's talk of, is he going to be traded? Is he going to be traded out of Denver? Because MPJ got a big contract, and so there's all this sort of like what's going to happen with Jamal Murray. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with him. But no, all in all, I'll just probably, I'm excited to watch basketball. I'm excited to see if these old timers, these like, the old Lakers with all these, these guys and the Nets, can they hang, or is it going to be like, is it Giannis's league now? Because I feel like everybody is kind of like, yeah, Giannis and the Bucks won a title, but asterisk, like LeBron wasn't playing, AD wasn't playing, KD and the Nets were banged up. So it's kind of like, I'm wondering if that's going to be fire for Giannis to show up and like, hey, no, it's like, this is for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, on paper, it looks like he's really the only star versus like, the U.S. Olympic team in the East and U.S. Olympic team in the West with the Lakers and Nets. So,
and I wish and Luka and the Mavs, like they didn't really pick up anybody. Can they make some noise even with like Porzingis? Can Porzingis make a comeback?
And I wonder, I heard a lot of rumbling about Damian Lillard, and I have a lot of his cards. So I'm hoping there is a trade. I'm hoping there is an opportunity for me to sell more Lillards because I like him. I just feel like I like how he plays. I like his swagger. I like, for not even watching much basketball, I still root for him because there was something that drew me to him and his style of play early on. And I was like, I don't know. I just want to root for this guy. I just don't know if he can do anything in in Portland. So I'm hoping he gets traded for multiple reasons. The other team to look out for too is Golden State. Because now if you have Steph Curry, who played lights out last year, as well as Klay Thompson coming back from an injury. I have Klay Thompson cards. I'm hoping he starts off very hot and the Golden State Warriors start off with a great record. And maybe I can move some of those, turn that into some underperforming players for later in the year. But yeah.
And they're also too, like, nobody's talking about the new draft class. We have like Cade Cunningham. I think it's Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green. I might be messing up the names, but those I think are like the two prospects that people are excited about. But what happens if those guys come out and light it up? Like no one's really, it's not like the Zion year or like the Luka year, Luka Trey, that sort of draft class where everybody seemed to be super excited. Now it's kind of like, no, it's a good point about Giannis being hurt too. He did play through injury. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot to be excited about with NBA, so we'll see. And I agree with you. Can the Warriors because like no one cares. It's like those guys were so dominant. And even without Durant, like the Splash Brothers were dominant. And I bet they're probably talking to each other like, we got to get back into the swing, because everyone's forgotten about them.
And I think there is something really cool about seeing a lot of 3-pointers go in. Kind of like, this is crazy. And I still think, man, if Steph Curry cards were cheap or if this was back in July and I was buying back then, I think Steph Curry, based on the strategy of I want all-time greats, which I think Steph Curry, based on his style of play, his size, his likability, could be in that discussion of more than just a Hall of Famer, but like you're one of the best at this type of play. That with upside of still being able to play for a couple more years is the strategy I would lean towards, where like I don't have to worry about you not having fans that love you and you not having a legacy, but I want to see if you could squeeze out another ring or two. And so that's more of like where I'm leaning right now. But anyway, guys, it's been over an hour. Dustin, I have to pee, so I got to end it right here. I'm proud of myself for lasting. Guys, thanks so much for joining us in the chat. Obviously, follow Dustin if you're not already doing so. If you haven't already unsubscribed from his stain, just don't start now. But anyway,
after off-centered, I always lose subscribers. I don't get it.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Justin. Thanks so much. And guys, we will see you next week.
All right. See you guys. Take care.